Hey everybody, Edo here, and this will be an interesting video because I know I'm late to the party. I'm not sure what I'll end up calling it, but basically, I was on vacation, and while I was on vacation, Quackalope put out this video which was titled initially as "The World Doesn't Need Your Mediocre Game," and it was a discussion with him, Jesse Anderson, and Travis Chance. Now, I was on vacation. I wasn't really checking things out, but seeing on Facebook, and it caught my attention because there was like this immediate reaction to that title, and the cover image for the video, and there was like a long post by somebody on one of the forums, and I was like, what an awful and you just look at that title and it just like instantly bristled. But I didn't know anything about the video. I know both those guys, but I've talked a number of times with Travis about over the years on all the different design stuff he's doing, and I was sort of curious given the reaction. So I looked up the video and I watched it, and one of the things that I found really interesting was watching the video. I was like, oh, this isn't really this like big punch in the face type video. Like, it was an interesting video, long hour video. I mean, I do long videos too, but it was a video where they were talking about a lot of reasonable, interesting, attention-worthy design tips and tricks or whatever from the two of them, and so I was surprised by how clickbaity and aggressive the title was to what was otherwise like probably a pretty good video. And so I went back and I sort of said, yeah, I mean, I watched it, and that image doesn't really do it justice. And then actually at some point, I guess Travis got wind of it and he responded there. I had a little back and forth with him, and then they ultimately got it changed. I think now it's called Top 10 Principles of Great Game Design, right? So like it happened, people reacted, there was a change, like whatever, right? And it's interesting to me because I got back. Actually, someone in the family got COVID, so it had to do with isolation. It's been like a week and a half at this point, but like I'm still thinking about it, and I'm like still sort of irritated about it, and not really having to do with what happened and those, like whatever. It's actually that idea, again, the world doesn't need your mediocre game, is like such a terrible statement, and so like misdirected in what it's communicating from my perspective, that I wanted to talk about why that statement's not true. Again, it wasn't really what was in the video at all. It was changed. I really don't care. But I want to talk to game designers, a lot of who watch this channel, about, and therefore I think the title of this probably isn't going to be clickbaity. It's probably, well, it might have that in there, but like why the world does need your game. But it's just been on my mind, and it reminds me of when the Dice Tower. It was a popular video at the time. The Dice Tower did a video that was like top 10 things a designer needs to stop doing, and it was Tom and Z and I don't remember if it was after what's his name left or not, but and so I responded with like a point-by-point breakdown on their video with mine, right? Because they were saying things that I thought were so disconnected from what it is to like be a designer and be passionate and in many ways be an artist as well. And so anyway, look, first off, conceptually, like just on the product side, like it's really important to understand that there are amazing, fantastic, one-of-a-kind, incredible things, incredible games, incredible products that make no money and are complete commercial failures, but are nevertheless amazing. There are examples of amazing work that gets no recognition, no credit, no nothing at the time, but years later, decades later, become very popular or gain traction. Sometimes when the person's still alive that created it, sometimes it's not. So like art and commercial and marketplace are totally fluid, and sometimes they like slap together and meet up with each other, and sometimes they're completely divergent and then meet each other. And there are people who get it. There are people who are tuned into what's has the it factor, what's great, what's popular, what trends right now. They just get it. They're like locked in, and they can make a lot of money in very successful products. And you know, also though, oftentimes the game, the design isn't the whole picture. Sometimes it's the product execution, the price point, the art. I mean, the marketing. There's all sorts of things that bring success. Sometimes you have games designs you've been working on for years and years and years, and there are other ones that come together really quickly and nail it. Pencil First Games has a lot of titles, all of which I love, many of which were more successful than others. And you know, Liftoff, Get Me Off This Planet, I think a great family weight game that I even did a expanded deluxe edition. We're working on that for 3 years or 4, I don't remember how long, but a long time. Publishers didn't pick it up, ended up doing a Kickstarter. It did all right. Didn't set the world on fire, but we started Pencil First Games, you know, built on it. Then Herbaceous, which was seeing some fantastic art from Beth, teaming up with Steve. That game came together in, I don't know, 3-4 months. Didn't have an incredible Kickstarter, but a successful one. Really resonated with folks. And it continues to sell year over year because it's hit the mix, and it was, and in some ways it was a little ahead of the curve. And, you know, you see more and more games that are like that. And we've had other titles like Skull Hollow that's hit there, or Full of First, or what have you. But you know, like, just this idea, the world doesn't need your mediocre game, is so like stuck in this weird, negative, sort of nasty place that also just doesn't reflect the reality. And man, or women, or whoever's watching, all of you, everyone. I mean, I've had the good fortune or not of working on lots of video game projects as well. I've without exaggeration, worked on a game that's made $1 billion. I cannot take credit for it having made that $1 billion, but I participated for a big, solid chunk of time. And, you know, you make money in all sorts of ways, for sure. And I've made games that have had huge audiences, but not made that much money, and big and the small and everything in between. You know, or fantastic games. You know, was working on a game, this is video game stuff, but Field Commander we made for the PSP, which is fantastic. We started working on Field Commander 2, which was coming along, almost finished, but then ultimately got canceled because the PSP market went pfft, and basically, you know, at the time, Sony was like, yeah, we've invested a lot of money in developing the title, but the amount of money we'd have to invest in terms of marketing and printing and all this other stuff just doesn't make sense anymore because the platform of where it was. And I'm paraphrasing a lot of stuff from decades ago. Decades? Is it really? At least a decade ago. So it's not a good way to think about anything, right? And so this idea, right, again, of detaching in some ways the world from your creation, especially when you're talking about board games. But, you know, if you're building something that you're passionate about, you care about, that's engaging, that you're driven to do, you know, like, Who cares what the world says, right? I think it's really important to be willing to create art, create fun, create games, build, make. Like, these are like core, for those who have that itch, it is big. And again, what one publisher is interested in, another isn't. When you go and you play games, they're not, I think many games are mediocre. There are some fantastic ones, but lots of different games work in different ways, bring different funds and fun, and most importantly, don't hit the same audience. We live in a world now where you can find people who like what you like, engage what you like, and you can create things for small or big or medium or whatever groups of people. Again, sometimes it starts small and explodes or otherwise, right? But it's just such a varied, dynamic space, and there's so much great stuff being done and made, and all of the above. Setting all of that aside, next, there's just this idea, and I just have some notes, but there's just this idea that, like, and I learned this from an incredible guy, Andrew Leaker, who ran Mind Control Software when I was working there. Very much felt he was a mentor, and he's done a lot of other cool games and ran other companies. But Sky Realms of Darun, for those who are like deep old RPG space, but he would just always say that, like, anything you work on, anything you do, anything you put energy into has value. The value of the practice, of the learning, of the hours, of the sharpening and improving your skills, the exercise value, the value of the new doors you've opened, things you explored, discoveries you made, lessons you learned. Like, it's like the turning of the crank, muscle memory, building the strength value, and then the projection of what it's shown you and what you see and what you learn, including failure. Like, including maybe it didn't, not just in the making of it, but in what happens to it. But then, even after that value, there's this latent value where he would always talk about, like, we'd get somewhere with a game idea, or we'd pitch it, or we'd prototype it, or we would work. It was like a work-for-hire studio. We did tons of different games, indie stuff. He would essentially keep, he had directory after directory, but whether it was a piece of concept art or a video game or design on paper, he had archives. And somebody would come up to him with an idea or be looking for a game, or another company would want something, and he'd have this sort of lexicon of things from the past and be like, oh, I can repurpose this thing that didn't work over here, adjust it, remake it, conform it, or whatever to these new demands, and essentially you never know what the future holds, and you never know something that you've some track you've treaded in the past won't become valuable forward. And the crazy thing is that, he demonstrated and I saw it, but like over the 20 years since, or however long it's been, time and time again, I see that's true. Time and time again, the muscle memory, time and time again, the lessons, time and time again, those things can come up, be brought forward, and brought to life elsewhere. I'd even add the relationships you've developed working with those people, those partnerships, those teams, are also connections that are valuable that you can reach out back to. So, like, the amount of that you get there from that, and the learning is just so big. And like, like, even to get like meta, like, the world needs that. Everything of value. I mean, I don't want to overstate, but like, we all inherently look at things other people do and then have built, like going like all the way back to like, oh, that tool, I got that fish, I want to use a tool to get that fish. Like learning, seeing, experiencing the successes and failures of, whether fantastic or mediocre, of somebody else, lead to and drive towards other things and new things and more interesting things and greater, more glorious things. So it's like just a not the right mindset, and I feel like there's such a joy in creation that you need to look past those things. You need to look past when somebody posts that. You need to look past someone saying those. And you know, I do free reviews. I do free Kickstarter reviews and prototypes. I've played plenty of terrible games. I've played many things that, you know, have issues. Even cases where there's like a gap between the person who's made it and the quality of what it is. You know, where there's sort of two pieces to it. That one where, you know, the person really thinks what they did is great and they're blind to it. But that's just an opportunity to learn, to succeed or fail to see. That doesn't mean it wasn't worth it. And I've played it. It's just like, wow, I need some work. But the other one is that Ira Glass video. I'll link it if I remember, where he's talking about your taste and how you as a creator or an artist are working on something and you think it looks bad because you have good taste and you know what looks good, but that process of working through what's bad, critiquing it and growing it and growing and growing it is how you then start getting to the point where you can make good stuff that you recognize as good. So, you know, that's it. I just wanted to get that off my chest. There's just so much fun to be had, to be made. And the world needs all grade of success, all grade of things. And it's as through part of that we grow and improve and have fun and explore and discover and like all of that stuff. So there were some good points in that other video about how to make better games and to think through it, and that like everyone can get better and you should. And definitely, like, you know, not everyone, sometimes your work product isn't great, right? And it is important to understand that. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. Okay, I've ranted enough. Thanks. Bye. Hey everybody, Edo here, and thanks for watching Gaming with Edo. Reviews over here on this playlist, League and Insider videos over here on this one. Subscribe, share, all that good stuff. But most importantly, play some great games. Thanks.